Alrighty guys, we're back for Orzhov Viper, and this is a Bloomburrow standard brew, and I'm Red Cat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked. This one's based around Rottenmouth Viper, 6 mana, 6/6, Elemental Snake. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may sacrifice any number of non-land permanents. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each permanent sacrificed this way, so we could potentially get this down really cheap. Now, whenever Rottenmouth Viper enters or attacks, put a blight counter on it. Then, for each blight counter on it, each opponent loses 4 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. This is a pretty neat card, man. Kinda scary, honestly. So the whole build is based around getting this down nice and cheap early on. We have a whole bunch of ways to just get a lot onto the board, like all 4 hop to it. 3 mana, sorcery speed, create 3 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens. Beautiful. We do not mind doing this on turn 3 at all. Other 3 drops in here that generate some extra tokens for us, like 3 blind mice as a 2 of. First chapter, first chapter on this saga here is create 1 white mouse creature token. Then the next 2 chapters, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. Okay. Then the final chapter, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. And with a deck list that should know how to go wide, that is actually a pretty scary chapter for the opponents. Now we have a couple Caretaker's Talent too. This is a 3 mana enchantment class. So for the top ability on this class, whenever 1 or more tokens you control enter, you draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn, but that does include your opponent's turns too, and there are ways in here to get tokens down on the opponent's turn. Level 2 of this only costs 1 white mana. When this class becomes level 2, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. Cool. Level 3, for 3 and a white creature tokens you control, get +2/+2. All right, I'm down. That actually seems really cool, especially when the whole theme of the deck is just a whole bunch of tokens coming out there. Some ways to actually get tokens down on the opponent's turn is actually going to be the instant speed adventure side of Devouring Sugarmaw. We have 2 of these in here. So for 1 and a white, have for dinner is what it's called. Create a 1/1 white human creature token and a food token as well. So 2 cards for the price of 1, and then also you can eventually cast this down as the actual Devouring Sugarmaw, which happens to be a 6/6 menacing trample creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. If you don't, tap Devouring Sugarmaw. Pretty neat card, man. Another way to get tokens on the opponent's turn is actually Virtue of Loyalty, that adventure side generating a 2/2 Vigilance Knight. I'll tell you what, we do not mind copying that knight with cards like the 3 blind mice or the middle ability on the Caretaker's Talent as well. All right, what else do we got packed in here that generates tokens? Well, we have a couple Case of the Stashed Skeleton. Cool. And honestly, like, we don't care too much about solving this case. It'll be nice when it happens. But other than that, this is just another way to play a card, and you get 2 cards on the table for the price of 1. That's like the whole concept here, right? That way, when it comes time to sacrifice non-land permanents, we'll have a whole bunch of stuff on the board to choose from. That's going to be a similar concept with all of our 1 mana cards too, like Novice Inspector giving us that clue. Greedy Freebooter does not mind dying, because when it does, we get that treasure token, which should be huge. Also, Scrying 1 is not half bad. Here's another new one. We got Scavenger's Talent. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control die, you create a food token. This ability triggers only once each turn, unfortunately. Now level 2 here for 1 and a black. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards. Okay. And then level 3 here for 2 and a black. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice 3 other non-land permanents. If you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Tell you what, that doesn't seem like it would be too hard in here, and bringing back a Rottenmouth Viper from the grave is pretty decent, honestly. Which is actually the reason we're rocking a 1 of Coiling Rebirth. 5 mana, gift a card. So you can promise a gift to the opponent when you cast it. If you do, they draw a card before any of the other effects happen. Now, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So normal reanimation spell. But if a gift was promised, and that creature isn't legendary, that's important, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1. So if you are bringing back that Rottenmouth Viper and you get a 1/1 token and you get that ETB trigger on that token as well, that seems pretty good, man. And then it is a 1/1 token. That's what I was getting at there. It is a token. So you could totally copy it with cards like the middle abilities on 3 Blind Mice and the middle ability on the Caretaker's Talent. So that's pretty cool, man. But one up for a reason. We're not a reanimation list. There are other ways to reanimate in here, like Virtue of Persistence. Of course, Adventure Side acting as removal. Other removal packed in, we have a 1 of Bitter Triumph. Is that going to be enough? No. That's why we also have a couple Dusk Rose Reliquary. Is that going to be enough? No. I tend to not play with enough removal. Hopefully we're fine for this one. We do have other ways to restock our hand outside of the Caretaker's Talent, like a couple Fanatical Offerings, which should be fine and dandy when we do end up sacrificing something. Get that map token on the board too, and maybe if it's like a freebooter, you're also getting the treasure token, so just keeping a lot of stuff on the board all the time. Over in the mana base, guys, I'm rocking an even split. Even though the deck list isn't even split, it's close enough. And we have the Courtyard in here because I don't want to take too much damage from like the pain lands and stuff. We have a couple Restless Fortress. We have all 4 Fabled Passage, which is like a reprint, I guess, because I had all 4 of these from the, that looks like, what, the original Eldraine, maybe? Either way, I didn't pull any of the new ones from the new set, so I'm just rocking the old ones, got lucky there. Should be fine and dandy for this list. We got a couple Mirrex and a Fountainport as well, which hopefully will do the thing today. No honorable mentions. This list was actually pretty difficult for me to put together because there's just like so much that could have potentially made the cut. So definitely let me know in the comments what should be at the very least in the honorable mentions. Okay, guys, I do my dandiest and sometimes fail at saving the more in-depth discussion for the end of the video. So look forward to that. In the meantime, let's go ahead, take this into some ranked and see how we do. Right into that first game, guys. What am I expecting from the build? Bro, I have no clue. Orzhov, like token control, like a lot of really good cards packed in, but I literally, it could go either way. Like it might be really, really janky, or it might just be incredible and blow me away. We'll see. I'm gonna go for Greedy Freebooter here on turn 1. They drop the GGs. Oh, no, opponent, come back. Oh no. Oh, I had so much fun, game. So much fun. All right. We'll put this one up as a test hand instead of game number 1. Because, you know, we get a limited number of hands per video. So it is nice to see what we had here. I have no idea why they dropped the concede, unfortunately. Well, I mean, I'll take the victory, though. I'll always take the victory. Let's keep the ball rolling. And hope that the second opponent doesn't immediately concede. Sometimes, like, when we drop, like, turn 1 Swift Spear, the opponent concedes. That's, like, understandable sometimes. People get really annoyed with mono red. But, like, the turn 1 freebooter... I mean, maybe they just had to... Maybe they just had to go. I have no idea. I don't mind this hand. I feel like it might actually be a little worse than the last hand, but... I'll tell you what, though. We have all 4 Vipers in here for a very good reason. That is the main build around. And, like, the main win condition, I guess. Although, you know, we could also go wide and then buff our wide board state with a few different ways. Like Virtue of Loyalty is the 5-mana way to do that. Alright, guys. We'll go ahead and pause until the opponent shows up. The opponent has arrived. Let's keep it. And now we wait. It's going to be a Plaza into a Tiny Bones joins up. Nice. What do we discard? I'm tempted to discard one of the land, but I feel like we're going to need a lot of that. Never mind. I'm going to discard a land. We have a lot of land in here, I'm pretty sure. There we go. We saw more. The question is, was the Restless Fortress the land that we should have discarded? Maybe I'll end up regretting that decision later on. Opting just for the untapped sources to make sure I have a turn 2, you know? Alright, Ton of Bones, the Pickpocket. See what they mill away here. It's going to be an Inspector. Hop to it. Nice. I wonder if they accept that trade. I'd say unlikely. I think I'll squeeze that one by. Wait a minute, I'm not an aggro deck right now. Oh well. I'll squeeze that one by. I'll forever have the... like, that mindset. And I'll keep the Virtue of Loyalty open, I suppose, over the case. I think that's fine. Because I wouldn't mind actually trading in the 2/2 or the Tiny Bones, but also this lets us keep Fanatical Offering open as well if we don't want to get the 2/2 down. And popping the Freebooter, drawing extra on the Offering, you know, we could draw right into the Viper. Yeah, we'll take the 1. Actually, yeah, we'll take the 1. They can play the Inspector, but that's fine. That's fine. Like, Tiny Bones actually doing the thing here is pretty cool. They still got 2 mana open. I hope it's not a counterspell. That would be embarrassing, huh? Wow, Viper on top. We're keeping it there. Heck yeah, dude. Draw into it. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it tells us 4 mana because we could sacrifice the treasure in the map to it. Okay. So how do we want to do this turn? Like, hop to it obviously makes the Rottenmouth Viper much cheaper. We could go Case of the Stashed Skeleton and still have Virtue open for next turn as a potential way to block the Inspector when it comes time. I actually think I like that more than just going the hop to it for the turn, because Case of the Stashed Skeleton is still 2 permanents hitting the board as well, which still brings the Rottenmouth Viper down pretty far. Of course, if we do end up using Virtue, we are losing the treasure token. So that's noteworthy. 1, 2. It's actually not 2, because we only have 3 to sacrifice after we pop the treasure, so that's a little bit misleading. Right? I think so, yeah. Yeah, because this is 6 mana usually. It's saying that we can play it, but we actually can't. I hope. Maybe I should have tried. Yeah, no. That should be right. Treasure, Courtyard, that's the 2. We sacrifice Skelly Belly map in Case of the Stashed Skeleton. And that's only 3 things, so. Alright, Gix coming down. See if they mill us again. Or see what they mill us. Fountainport, okay. I don't mind losing mana, but that would have been pretty good mana to have on the board, honestly. Virtue. Let's block their Inspector that they stole from us. And they're tapped out, so they don't get anything fancy off the Tiny Bones for the turn. So the question is, like, when do we value getting the Rottenmouth Viper down? Because, like, it could easily get gobbled up by removal. So we can sacrifice 2 things, which would probably be the Skeleton. So we start with the swing, because that brings him down a little bit. And then I'll gladly pay the 4 here. And so Skeleton and Map Token, that's the X quantity. And then we pay the 4 for the Rottenmouth Viper. And then the case will also be solved too, which we can always find more Vipers then. So this has a huge target on its back, guys. I cannot imagine this surviving at all. But if it hits the grave, we have to be careful with that tiny bones. To be careful. We're also ready for that Virtue of Loyalty to come down next turn with this 5th mana if we want it to. We can also wait, but it wouldn't be terrible to spend our mana on that. Spending 2 to search for the case instead of another Viper, we could always find the thing that reanimates the Viper, gift a card, and then have 2 of them hit the table. One of them's just a 1/1, but still, that's something to think about. They do go for the sacrifice on the Tiny Bones joins up, huh? All those cards in hand. I thought it was going to be a discard. What do you guys suppose? Was it worth getting the Viper down? I think so. I think so. I mean, we were completely anticipating the removal regardless. I think it was fine. With 1 there, I'll finally take care of this Tiny Bones. It's not a bad trade. And we don't want them to draw 2 here, as their hand is so stocked already. Okay, Tiny Bones, number 2 comes down. So for the turn, just like establishing as much as possible, we'll save the case for another time. Get the plains down, hop to it, sorcery speed, and then Devouring Sugarmaw is instant speed. So we'll save that for their turn. Okay, guys, they have so many cards in hand that we are technically in danger. This is heavily leaning towards them, and they didn't even play their 4th mana yet. I do believe that we can pull this back, though. And I think a big question comes down to what we grab off of that case of the stashed skeleton. Another Fanatical Offering wouldn't be bad to see off the top. Wouldn't be terrible. Or anything else that can help us restock this hand a little bit too, like the Caretaker's card as well. I think we'll consider the chump on the Gix. They do full swing here too. So I'll go for the have for dinner, see what happens. Could be a counterspell. Alright, human hits the board. We'll go you and you. Is that okay? Do we want to chump this Gix right now? No, maybe not. Right? Because sure, they'll draw another card, but what's another card? I mean, look at their hand, dude. We'll take care of the Tiny Bone. We'll keep our board state wide for the Virtue of Loyalty to come down. We're at 10. The opponent's at 14. They do find their 4th now. New Blood comes down. Ready for some crimes. Deep Cavern Bat just looks at our swamp. But they do put a counter onto the New Blood. Novice Inspector off the top is not great. However, it is something that we can play with the Virtue of Loyalty. So maybe that is much better than I was thinking. They have blockers for days, so unfortunately we don't have a swing here. Start buffing this wide board state. I'd like to say anyone's game. I still think it's heavily leaning towards the opponent, though. Whatever we grab off the case, maybe it should be something that can actually affect the board state more than a Viper. Because if we go Viper, first of all, it'll depend if we see mana off the top. Because untapped mana off the top would give us 7. We pay the 2, probably grab the one that reanimate the Viper with a token as well, and then go from there. They find a cut down for the Inspector, plugs a counter onto the New Blood. We still have a pretty good double block into Gix unless they find more spot removal. And how likely is that spot removal? Pretty likely, but we should risk it anyways. Yeah, I think just spot removal on the 2/2. At the very least, we still blocked 3. We're taking 5 down to 5. All right, the Gix is out of here, dude. That's good news at least, but they do get the ability once. No, twice. They get the ability twice. Because the bat got through in the air too, of course. Ah, Sheoldred. Oh no. Oh no. That's pretty bad. Gonna be a hop to it. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, so the draw on the clue isn't great. Hop to it, go wide. We could get another Viper down, but it's not doing too much against this right now, against this deck list that we're up against. So if we just go hop to it, and we're going to save the food. We're going to pop the food for the turn. Going wide with all these bunnies with the Virtue of Loyalty feels pretty good, man. I like that. Not good enough to deal with overwhelming card advantage, though. And with the Sheoldred, yeah, we're pretty much like they can just keep passing back, I would say. Although, of course, they want to swing in the air with the Deep Cavern Bat, too. Okay. Just with the bat. Down to 2. Plaza of Heroes. Okay. Gain 3 off the food to survive the turn. Back down to 3. It's a Novice Inspector. Oh no. What could we do? What could we do? We got to find spot removal off of the case, right? We have to remove the Sheoldred, and if they find a counter, it is what it is. So as far as spot removal goes for the Sheoldred, it wouldn't be bad to go Virtue onto the bat too, but because we'd gain 2, but it's much better just to find something that actually takes care of the Sheoldred. Let's go with, so Dusk Rose Reliquary's away, do it, but I think they might have something in there that could deal with that. We popped the clue. We're probably going to need the clue. So let's go Bitter Triumph and discard the Novice Inspector. Because I don't want to lose any of the rabbits. Discard a card. Which I guess, yeah, we'll have 2 open for the clue. Now might be the time to go for a full swing too. If the Sheoldred even gets removed, of course. They have all that mana open. Plaza of Heroes. I wasn't even thinking twice about that, dude. Well, we lose 2 of our bunnies. We'll have 3 going through, bringing them down to 10, but we're dead next turn anyways, so we just go for it. Yeah, Plaza of Heroes protects, man. Like, how many times have we done that against the opponents with legendaries? A lot, and I completely overlooked it. Was there any other thing that we could have done? Yeah, I guess my initial thought here, or not the initial thought, but the first thing that I brought up was grabbing that Virtue and hitting the bat to gain a couple life could have potentially kept us in it. But with all that card advantage, guys, I think this was just going to be the opponents anyways. We'll draw off the clue, drop them the GGs, and let them swing on in. Wow, Viper off the top. Cool. Yep, swing with the bat. Yeah, Sheoldred was a menace. I think we had the right idea about getting rid of Sheoldred, just not working out with the Plaza. So the only other method of survival was gaining life while removing this bat. And then maybe we could have survived one more turn. I don't know if that turn would have done too much for us, though. You know what I mean? All right, let's keep the ball rolling. I think the deck list has a lot more to showcase. I don't think it showcased itself very well in that one, even though we were able to go wide. We were doing cool things while going wide. We got the Viper down too. Just kind of felt like it just didn't do what I wanted it to do. So we'll see. We'll get that turn 1 Freebooter down. And probably Fabled Passage turn 2. Dusk Rose Reliquary. Okie dokies. I'll do that thing that's super annoying and everyone keeps the Fabled Passage open until the very last moment, which honestly, it is good practice to do. But it's also, I don't like clicking pass through the entire turn of the opponent, you know what I mean? With what we have in hand, I am going to grab another Plains. Oh, Freebooter. Well, get the hop to it down for the turn. And we'll grab a swamp off of the other Fabled Passage. The Rottenmouth Viper is ready for a turn 4. We'll see what the opponent does, though. The biggest problem with the Viper is the fact that it gets picked up by a whole bunch of different spot removal, but we can literally say that about almost any creature, so... But it is one of those things where, for the Viper, though, you are sacrificing a lot of your board state to get this big creature down, so when it is removed right away, then it is extra devastating, I suppose. We do have multiple things next turn too if we want. If we want to go Dusk Rose Reliquary for the turn, like pop the Freebooter, get the Scry, get the treasure. Fabled Passage, grab the Swamp first probably. That way the Scry on the Freebooter, we thinned the deck. Although, does this deck care about deck thinning? Oh, opponent ran down his timer. Well, I'm still going to play it out. Swamp. And do we want to take that Bronco or just play the Rottenmouth Viper? I think this is fine. And we'll just sacrifice the Freebooter and the Bunny Rabbit. GG opponent. I have no idea what's going on, guys. The victories are just the opponents leaving. Did I have fun? Game. I like to play the game, you know, but, you know, it's a victory, so I'll say I had fun. Okay, we could put that down as another sample hand, but also, like, we curved out really nicely. The good news is we have time for another one, so let's do it. Let's freaking go. Guys, while I'm in the middle of the video, did I bring this up already? Crap, dude, I forget. I've been playing so much Magic and recording so many videos in a day that I forget if I brought up the Patreon and whatnot. Or was that the last video? I don't know anymore. We go first. This is actually a pretty bad hand that I'm going to keep because I'm testing the deck to its absolute limits, and I think there's a lot we could draw. And now I'm not going to do the annoying thing. I'm going to do this on our turn because I don't think it affects anything. I'm just going to grab the Swamp. Or anything in the current game of Magic, at least. Swamp. Hopeless Nightmare. We're going to get rid of the Fanatical Offering, number 1, since we have 2 of them. Anyways, guys, I forget if I brought this up or not, but make sure you check out that description where we got that Discord link, as well as that Patreon link, too, if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. And then also been trying to do the YouTube thing as well and talk more about liking and subscribing. So if you like the video, make sure you drop it a like. And if you like the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So yeah, there we go. The YouTube stuff out of the way. Like I said, I completely forget if I already went over it or not, but yeah, we might as well get rid of the Dusk Rose Reliquary, as we have nothing else on this board state right now. Yee. Another Viper. This was a mulligan. This was definitely a mulligan. from from what we're seeing right now, we now know that if we see a hand and we have no way to establish tokens and stuff on the board, then we drop them all again. Oh, buddy, oh, buddy. One of the Vipers are out of the equation. Another hopeless nightmare. We have to keep offering to restock our hand, right? It's got to be Viper number 2. Uh-oh. Well, it's something at least, but we're going to lose our hand this turn, guys. I don't think we're going to be able to keep this hand. We're going to play Virtue and lose the Fanatical Offering. Yeah. That's rough, dude. 3 hopeless nightmares. I'll wait till the end. And ditch the Fanatical Offering, which is our only way of actually restocking here. Activating level 2 on the Bandit's Talent. These discard deck lists have been pretty rough. Greedy Freebooter. Yeah, it's a deck list that you definitely wanted to see more against. I should not have kept this hand. Oh dear, oh dear. And this might be the last game of the evening too. I can't let this be the last game unless we can somehow pull this off. Level 3 on the Bandit's Talent. Wow. That is completely draining us, guys. That's instant speed, so I'll keep it open. Wow, they're going to be drawing 2 cards here. That's pretty crazy, dude. Orzhov versus Orzhov. 2 very different deck lists, though. Mana off the top would not be terrific, but it wouldn't be bad if it was a an open black source, of course, because we go Adventure for the turn and then get the Devouring Sugarmaw down. Sacrifices a creature, huh? So this is a good chance to go ahead and sacrifice the Freebooter. Get that treasure so we'll actually have the Devouring Sugarmaw. It's going to be a swamp on top. Based on our hand and everything, unfortunately, guys, I'm going to send it. Well, never mind. Never mind, because anything else we see, if we end up playing the Sugarmaw off the treasure, then our hand is going to become empty anyways. So, have for dinner. Alright, that food could help us, but I don't want to spend that treasure right now. Okay, play the swamp before we lose it out of our hand. And we do have 5 for the Virtue of Loyalty, if that's what we want to do for the turn. So, that wouldn't be bad. Honestly, having all these adventures is actually really good against this. Saving up to 7 for the Virtue of Persistence could also be really good. And getting the opponent down to 11 means that this Devouring Sugarmaw could actually be excellent and put them on a couple turn clock that way too. Outside of that, with the Virtue, okay, it's Sugarmaw, I think, right? I think that's okay. We have a lot of tokens and stuff to sacrifice to keep these creatures around. And having 9 power on the board right now, they go for the Scry on the Nightmare. To my surprise, even though they significantly drained our hand and I should have mulliganed earlier, we're actually doing okay, which I think is a testament to the power level of some of the cards packed in. They want to find spot removal here for the Sugarmaw for sure. And drawing 2 off the top after a Scry, that's very powerful. So I'm not convinced that the Sugarmaw is going to survive the turn. Other than that, they could find a way to win if they bounce a couple Nightmares, drop a couple Nightmares. Well, they already had 3. They'd have to bounce it like a few times and then have the 2 from the Bandit's Talent actually end it too. Okay, they're getting a scry off the Nightmare and actually going for Beseech the Mirror. I wonder what they grab here. Removal, right? Or a board wipe or something that they have. Or that they potentially have in the build. Oh. No witnesses. They did have a board wipe packed in. Oh no. We could go for the draw on the clue, but Coiling Rebirth is actually pretty insane off the top, dude. Let's go. I'm playing it. We could die next turn, but I'm doing this. And I'm gifting a card too. Rottenmouth Viper. What a top deck. Yes. Let's see it, opponent. Let's see it, buddy. Yeah, we got to be very careful here, being at 6 life when they have cards like the Bandit's Talent in here and the Hopeless Nightmare. Because they could play Talent, get it to level 2, bounce the Hopeless Nightmare, play the Nightmare. Luckily, it doesn't look like it's going to be the bounce. They're going for the Scry on the Hopeless Nightmare number 3. 5 cards in hand, 7 cards in hand. Very likely the opponents, but that top deck maybe pulled us back in. We'll see. I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, now that we know that they have no witnesses packed in. Sarah Paragon. Oh, we're dead. We're dead. Double down on Hopeless Nightmare? No. Once during each. Oh, dude, I got so scared. They do go for the Hopeless Nightmare. I guess they could have the last one in hand. Oh, also, we could do that at instant speed. Oh, okay, good. Okay, well, we're going to gain the life for sure. But drawing wouldn't be bad, too. It's a good full swing, even though they have a block here. They don't know what's in hand right now. Let's go for the swing. See what happens. Yeah, because this ability happens twice on each Viper. Dude, if we can pull this off. Okay, they decide to take the 4. Which means now they're forced to block the 6/6 Viper. With the Sarah Paragon, letting the other one go through. Yeah, they're forced to block here. Alright, is there anything that affects combat? I think we're going to go for the draw on the clue. See what we see. It's going to be a Concealed Courtyard, unfortunately. Sarah Paragon out of the equation. Bring the opponent down to 5. We have the food token open. Do we do it now? Well, first of all, we play the Courtyard. Is there anything that they could do to stop the ability of the food? I don't know right now, and I'm concerned that there is, so I'm just going to activate the food right now while we have it, go back up to 5, and hopefully survive this turn. Okay, tapped land from the opponent. Is it going to be Viper for the victory? They find 1 piece of spot removal for the first Viper. They search our graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards named the same thing. Luckily, we still have our 1/1 Viper around. But with 2 cards in their hand, they find a Bandit's Talent. We are forced to discard. We can decline, but either way, we lose our hand. They power it up. They go down to 4. We're down to 1. Dude, 3 blind mice. We go for the swing, though, because that's game. That's 3 on the Rottenmouth Viper. With the plains open, we know that it's not a cut down. But it could be an Elspeth Smite, huh? But technically, this stack would still happen, right? Wait. Wait, what? What just happened? Wait a minute. How'd they gain life? Wait, what? Oh no. Oh no. Guys. What happened? Dude, I actually don't know what happened right now. That's not good. We're gonna die from the Bandit's talent. Lose 2 life. Oh, the Sarah Paragon. The life gain off the Sarah Paragon, and they sacrificed one of the Bandit's talents. So, we're dead, guys. We're dead from the Bandit's talent ability. Dude, I thought we were gonna get there. Oh no. So yeah, they had the discard, they had the sacrifice. Either way, Bandit's talent is gonna wrap up this game, unfortunately. For some reason, I thought that ability going through 3 times was gonna be enough to actually do it. But they had the sacrifice and the discard required. Dude, good game, opponent. Holy cow, I thoroughly believed that we were gonna get there, guys, for real. I would call these very tough uphill battles in that game. Unfortunately, I really desperately needed to mulligan. So you can kind of blame me for this deck list, I would say. Maybe not blame the deck as much. Although it's definitely one of those ones, put it on the do not craft list, guys, for like literally a couple weeks after a new set comes out. No one knows where the meta is going to settle at all. It usually settles somewhere after a couple weeks, I would say. But, you know, in the meantime, if you care about your wild cards, I would say don't craft anything. I know that that's pretty difficult though, because like right away, day 1, I crafted a lot. So Rottenmouth Viper, we got to build around this more, right? I already have a Rakdos video ready for Rottenmouth Viper. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing that. Maybe I'll bump it up the list a little bit. Yeah, these were some uphill battles that felt like they really shouldn't have been that difficult sometimes. Outside of that, would we be okay against like the aggro deck lists and stuff that we've been seeing a lot of? Right now, for this one, we're leaning into that mid-range for sure. We're leaning into that late game. We're not so much control. We're definitely like mid-range. And we struggled against the other mid-range builds that just established a little bit more of an engine. And the discard build, when we already were saying that we should have mulliganed probably, and then the discard build just completely drains our hand anyways, that happened to be particularly rough. And if I would have mulliganed, I actually think we would have had a great chance there, guys, because seeing any amount of our early tokens and stuff in that game would have been huge for us. Yeah, so there was a lot of surprising stuff happening at the end of that one where I thought that the life gain was actually going to be the thing that they survived from. And the life gain was from the Sarah Paragon. That last game, that really stumped me for a second. But no, having everything that they needed on time, having the removal for one of the Vipers, it really it worked out in their favor. And it's not like we can blame luck there. I think that's going to happen very often. And I think people are going to have removal all the time, no matter what. And so that's really something to consider when you're going for greedy plays off the Viper. Like, check out my 3-drop Viper, and the opponent's like, check out my 2-drop removal spell. So, you know, be very cautious with that. When you are going wide, there are going to be games where it's just better to buff that wide board state off of like Virtue. I would have loved to see Caretaker's talent today. Maybe I should have actually played more of them. I don't think I have more. Oh, I do have 3. I don't have 4. I do think this is going to be pretty good, and against all the decks that we saw today, extra draw would have been really good. So definitely considering a second one or a third one of these, or maybe once I get all 4 of them in a deck list like this, I actually think it would be really good. I think, yeah, just drawing those extra things, that's part of establishing that engine against those fellow mid-range players. Something to consider for sure. Didn't get to see Scavenger's talent today. There's so much we didn't get to see here, guys. Orzhov tokens. Let me know in the comments if you want me to revisit this at some point here in the near future, because I feel like the game's just, you know, it didn't do the deck list justice, because I actually really like how the deck list looks. I like the janky looking curve up here. The curve looks like this because you're kind of considering Viper like a 4-drop and lower, because you're not going to mind sacrificing a couple things to get Viper down on turn 4, sacrificing your turn 1 Inspector and Clue to get a turn 4 Viper when you're already establishing other stuff on the board too, is just going to be really good. And so that's why the curve looks like this, where we're kind of thinking like the Viper is curving out around that 4 right there. So that's the concept. and sometimes Viper is going to be even cheaper too. Coiling Rebirth. That was cool, man. I like the one of. I would keep this. And another thing too, when I say the opponents are going to usually have the removal, Coiling Rebirth can just bring the Viper back, and getting that ETB trigger all over again just sounds really good. 3 blind mice. We were like pretty much on the run whenever we saw the 3 blind mice, so we weren't able to do the thing, but having these like middle abilities to copy all these extra tokens and being able to choose what tokens you want to copy to just seems really powerful to me. Being able to get like extra skelly bellies because maybe you're pushing some extra damage through against control. Or of course the extra knights is always a really good one to copy. And the token off the Coiling Rebirth as well. Guys, if you made it this far into the video, for real, y'all are champions. Oh my goodness, what are y'all doing here? No, let me know in the comments. Did we get a little unlucky today? Was it the deck list? Do you despise this curve? Because I like this curve. No, yeah, let me know in the comments for sure. What did you think? The mana base felt pretty fine. When I put this up on Aether Hub, be cautious about the Fabled Passage because... I mean, I guess you could craft the old ones, but just be cautious about what version of Fabled Passage is actually on the Aether Hub. Maybe I'll put the new version in the deck list before copying it over. I just don't have any of the new versions. Either way, be cautious because even if you have like one of the new versions and 3 of the old versions, you don't want to craft 3 of the new versions. You definitely want to just squeeze those old versions in. So... yeah, double check that for sure. Always keep an eye on that with reprints and stuff. Okay, guys, yeah. Anyways, enough rambling. I will see you in the next video.